on the agenda was kind of the formality of the, I'm drawing a blank, I apologize.
Paging. Sorry.
Wow. Coming from that side of the table?
I'm telling you, sometimes conservatives.
The policy and procedure aspect of it, kind of the legal mumbo jumbo that we usually like to start us off with every year. Board policies and procedures from the legal department, and I believe Julia had mentioned that they were gonna be here, Mr. Puig.
Yeah, I did extend an invitation for
Okay.
tonight.
Okay. So, I mean, that's kind of, got a little bit of a front end formality that we like to do, at the beginning of every year. With that, we do have some new members that weren't here for our kickoff meeting, so I think we do need to redo the introductions all over again. So, for the sake of John and Noel, I think everyone else here was covered last time, you should go on the room. Here you go. All right, so we have a new member, Mr. Tobler. I don't know if you want to start, introduce yourself.
Okay, yes, I'm John Tope. And he said I missed the kickoff meeting, so I got a call saying that if I miss two more, I will be a part of the kickoff meeting. So pleasure to be here. Do I need to express anything?
I don't know, just kind of your point of view, what do you do? You have kids in the district, work for the district,
Right, of course I have kids in the district. I'm president of Tope Construction. A deacon, a dad, a husband, and all of the rest. Two have kids in the district. All my children graduated from the district. One left and he's 13, so we'll be hanging out till he gets out. That's it.
I'm Darren Watkins, project manager and superintendent for Thomas Marine Construction, and I do have two kids in the district.
I'm Frank Stout with Envirostruct. I'm Vice President of Operations there, and I have two kids in the district as well.
I'm Bob Taylor, a partner at ADG Architecture. I have three kids that have graduated from the school district.
Uvaldo, Principal Project Manager with Collier County. I have four kids, two graduated from the district and two are still in the district.
Clarissa Parodi, I'm with ADG Architecture. I don't have kids in the district right now, thanks God they graduated.
I'm Russ Ringland. I work at a little nonprofit, plants trees called Future Forestry, and I have a LLC. I've bought some land. I have two kids, they're both at North. One's a senior and one's a freshman. And I also have some experience in construction and finance.
Some
In real estate.
experience? Some experience?
Even today, my experience is that the labor guy walked off the site today at noon, and I got to wheelbarrow concrete for an hour and a half. I mean, I just let my work boots and
Rest for everybody. You guys are dressing up.
Job's done, though.
Appreciate that.
it's done.
Stephen Horty, SSI, two teenage girls in Riverdale.
Trent Schwartz, CPPI, project director of two kids in Tanglewood Elementary and one at Cypress Meadow.
Kathleen Morgan, Lee County School Board, District 7.
Alice English, I have a bunch of kids in the school system here. I have a 17-year-old that's a dual enrollment, fixing up her AA, I guess over FSW.
Nice.
I've got 4 grandchildren in the system. One of them's in your autism school. I've been in public service for over 35 years in construction from airports all over the world. And I'm tied into the DOE in Washington, D.C. Kind of dismayed right now, kind of upset over this system. I don't know what other surprises are gonna come up with that board back there. When the lady attacked the Guatemalans the other day, I almost had a heart attack. We're 70 million short on that vocational school, am I not right? $70 million. I had it set up to try to get the money down here. I was this close until someone condemned some of our immigrants. I'm between myself. I mean, I'm really upset over this. My own kid is mixed. She's done nothing but take shit no offense, at Riverdale since I put her in there 3 years ago. She confronted it and dealt with it. Now what do? $70 million. And they're on the table with it. I give up.
That's a hell of an intro.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, and all I can say is, are you referring to Ms. Patrica's comments?
Yes,
Okay, and you know that she apologized.
it's too late for that.
Okay.
I've been in Guatemala City with a guy by the name of Ollie North back in the 80s. And I stayed at a Hyatt hotel that had fire hydrants in front of it. So the idea is I went to little Guatemala. Do you guys know where that is? On Ortiz, right south of Palm Beach. And that's my hermanos over there. What's going on? What's the problems? I don't understand. They said the reason the children were locked up in the bathroom was because they were being bullied. They were scared to death. Well, how do we deal with this? Here I am trying to funnel funds in, no offense, and help the best I can in the background. But I can't find a system that can't be controlled. It's gone from stink out of Bonita Springs, no maintenance, a letter to the governor over a corrupt school board by one of the members.
Well, I'm gonna stop it right here.
Okay,
That's not what this committee's about.
I understand.
No, we're gonna stop that discussion. You are entitled to your opinion. We have work to do as a committee.
Sorry.
So if you wanna further that, by all means, support you doing what you need to do, but this committee is.
I got it. I'll stop.
Thank you.
Stop. Sorry, I apologize.
No, I'm sorry. And this young lady?
My turn? Okay,
pressure.
yeah. I'm Noelle Billum, I'm a civil engineer with Avalon Engineering. I have 3 girls in the system, 2 at Cape Elementary and 1 at Challenger Middle.
Ryan Richards, this year's chair, I'm a partner with RG Architects. And notice Darren forgot to mention he's vice chair this year, so guilty by association. I don't have any kids at all, and I just spoil other people's kids, fill them with sugar and send them home.
I'm Scott Rickenbacker, Director of Construction for the district. I have 2 kids that graduate from Mariner at FGCU. I'll be glad to ship them to your house any weekend. I'll even pay for the food. And Julia, if you guys don't know Julia, she was our recording secretary for this. She's involved.
Remember that, always do what Julia says.
I do have one question I may ask, if Brian, I haven't spoken to you this, but if you table it, we had a member on here, his name was Jack McStrata. He's a building official with GFA. He wasn't reappointed, he did apply, but he didn't make the cut. And I don't know if it's something he would gladly come and serve with us. He provides building official experience to architects, engineers, civil. I think it would make a great addition to this committee if it's allowable. I'm not sure, it's not allowable. Okay, that's over with, thank you.
I mean, I will check and see if there are any open slots for the committee. And if there are, I will talk to you about it and we'll go from there. How's that?
No hard feelings, it's just, he brings a lot to the table if he can be in.
Yeah.
That's all I got, sorry.
And inevitably, someone will drop off the board, and we can revisit that discussion if we have some attrition.
Great.
Miss Jackie Brown did send her regrets, she's traveling today, she can't make it, so she recognizes it's strike one, and she hopes to be here next month. With that, we move on to summary of the approval of the minutes from September 22nd. Has anyone had any issues and or comments regarding the minutes that Julia sent out, I believe it was last week?
Yes, last week.
Part of the minute, they were the report that, for the small business enterprise. It is part of the minute, but if we approve the minute and we approve the recommendation to move with the program, because it was just a brought to attention for comment, not for action.
Right, it was, kind of an introductory meeting, I don't think we made any motions or recommendations coming out of that. It was just to hear what they're up to, so I don't, necessarily interpret that as, an approval of what they're doing, it's just that's an approval of what we talked about that day. So, we can always bring that back up as a future line item, if you feel the need for a meeting, we can discuss that openly. But I don't necessarily see that pertaining to the minutes, so to speak. Mr. Taylor?
Nothing.
Thought you raised your hand.
No.
Any other comments and or additions? Good afternoon, Dana.
Apologize for being late.
We got all the civil engineers at the short table.
It's all right, I don't recognize you as a civil engineer.
Good job. So with that, can we get a motion for approval of the minutes?
I would move that they be approved as written.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Ringland. And all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, thank you for that. And then we will move on to board, summary of board advisory committee training. Mr. Pivuno, it does not appear to have left us hanging.
Well, she's not coming, I don't believe, but let me give the new members a brief summary. Everything is sunshine here, and she'll get it, when she does come, she'll give it, everything we do is sunshine. Do not send emails back and forth to each other, everything's exposed. Any questions, concerns, or comments you have, you can direct them to either Ryan or to Julia. Julia will be your best host for all of the emails, and Julia will then disseminate it to all members so that everybody has the same information and sharing of knowledge and emails and so forth. So we recommend that you don't communicate with each other, and if you do communicate, that is public sunshine and can be requested and go to the public. So
And it's not meaning you can't talk to each other about anything specifically regarding this committee and what it does. We realize we all have business relations, so I can't avoid dinner if I tried, but, you know, specific to this effort. So I guess we'll, now that we have a much more brief agenda, move on to board member comment.
Okay, so I will start with, just if you're interested in the current mask policy, students are expected to wear masks, but they may opt out. Staff is still expected to wear masks. The district has formed an advisory committee of physicians to advise about the various steps of mitigation. Masking is one step of mitigation, physical separation is another. Air quality, there are all kinds of things that are mitigation steps. And so they will be recommending to the superintendent at what point the district will change any of the mitigation measures that are in place. So that's where we are on masks. I am curious, did any of you participate with the superintendent search? You should have been invited to sit in on the feedback.
It was just a observant. But I thought the discussion and everything went well.
I mean, do you feel like the board gave the community an opportunity to participate in that particular way? And were you comfortable with the kinds of questions asked and the level of participation? I don't know how many were in each of the groups, so.
I don't think that the participation is ever gonna be what we would really truly like it to be. But we did have some.
Okay.
And there also was a survey monkey that was sent out, I
Yes.
participated on the survey
Yes.
monkey
I
survey.
did that also.
Yeah, okay, good, all right. And then, since it was brought up, I will say that, yes, we spent a lot of time last night at the board meeting talking about a statement made by Ms. Patrica at a community event that she attended. She was asked, as a member, she was asked the question, you know, what are the challenges facing the school district? And she mentioned English language learners. And she made, I think, a culturally insensitive remark about the difficulty of educating some of the non-English speaking students in the school. And it's been widely circulated, she's been called all kinds of names, she's been asked to resign. She apologized profusely for 2 meetings yesterday. The board has issued a letter, I did not bring it with me, but the board has issued a letter saying that there is no tolerance for any kind of discriminatory conversation. We have a non-discrimination policy. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about that. Or comments.
Who was the individual?
It was
That's
Chris Patrica, District 3. She was speaking to the Estero Council. And I will tell you my comments so that you can come after me if you like. But I've also been asked in public to speak to the specific problems that face the district. And I think we have two problems, and I think it's important to be honest about those problems. One problem that we have is too many of our kids are coming to school what I would call illiterate. They haven't been read to, they haven't had conversations with people, they're not ready for kindergarten, sets a floor, and kindergartners are supposed to be at that floor. And it's pretty much tough luck if they're not. So 40% of our kids come into kindergarten not ready for kindergarten. So it's a big stretch for us to get that number of kids in kindergarten ready to move through the system. That's number one. Number two are the English language learners. We got in, I think, about 1,600 new English language learners this year. We have a fairly large population. For the younger kids, it's not too difficult for them to assimilate because they're basically learning language and content at the same time. The difficulty we have, and we've got several academies at different high schools at this point because of the numbers of students, one's at Dunbar. The difficulty is that the state expects these kids after 2 years. We're talking about, let's face it, we're talking about third world country students who may have had, and I'm not talking about Guatemala specifically, we have kids speaking 189 languages in this school district. But they often come from countries where they have a 3rd, 5th, or 8th grade education. If you're in middle school, if you're in high school, you've only had a 5th grade education. The state expects you, 2 years after you arrive in the district, to pass tests in English language arts, in math, in science, in, what am I missing? Civics, the core subjects. So it is a huge challenge for us, and I wouldn't say it's not, but I will say that the way that Ms. Patrica addressed the problem, I think was insensitive from a culturally insensitive, I will say it, it was a poor decision on her part, but she, I believe, deeply regrets her statement. She had no idea that by talking about something that she had learned in a school, that a whole group of people would be deeply hurt and offended. And so that's been a learning experience for the school board, and for some of the members of the school board. And that's what I will say.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So, I mean, without the, you kind of anticipated a few minutes out of the training aspect of it, one of the items that we did try to task you with before leaving our last meeting is to try to work up a calendar for this year. We're willing to take on anything the district finds necessary, but then again, we're here as a committee, as public, to bring items to the table and to have open discussions. So if there's anything that we feel needs to be addressed, this would be a place for it, and we're open to suggestions for meetings, and no, we're not gonna talk about procurement. So with that, I know, Scott, did you have something of a construction update put together, or?
I have an update. Are you gonna gather some potential topics first, or I can do either stuff?
Now that they've kind of been warned, get them thinking one more time. Maybe the time to do it, and then we'll come right back to that.
Okay. Sure. Well, welcome. I am Scott Rickenbacker, Director of Construction. This is the latest update I gave a week ago at my monthly board meeting, capital update, where I tell them about our project status and change order status and so on and so forth. Do it every month. These are all available on the district website, in board docs. Go to YouTube, you can watch the meetings live. So this is for September 2021. This, let me figure out how to move this over. I can't. Anyway, this is pre-K, quadruple A in Estera. It's our new south zone that we've been designing. It's scheduled to open in '24, and we have just received the GMP, and inflation is definitely going to be a factor. And that is all that I'm gonna say at this point in time, because I have to put some documentation together, and probably will schedule a board workshop to brief all of the board members as to the inflation costs and how it's in fact affecting our GMPs and overall total project costs. So that's cool right now. We just opened up our bid, so the design is done. We have a meeting with the Village of Estero, I believe, on the 12th of October. That's where the Planning and Zoning Committee approves our plan and our designs. We collaboratively work with their subordinate staff in terms of the site. We're working within their zoning codes and ordinances. We're asking for some alleviations. One of those things is a charging station. They wanted us to put electric car chargers in there. That's part of their commercial development down there for like a strip mall or whatever. Well, we're a school. I don't pump diesel and regular fuel there, so I'm certainly not gonna, and I don't have people that are trained gas pumpers and registers in the school district. So that's one of those things we're asking them to give us a deviation from. So all of our design time, everything's been right on cue. Our working with the village has been very fruitful, and we're right on target. And the next step is for me to bring the GMP to the school board at the next available meeting. I've been told by the superintendent when I'm prepared, I can't go good cause with that because time is of the essence. We did an early release, for those of you that didn't know. We bought our structural steel early, we had to, because if we didn't go out, and it's the first time we've ever done it at the district, we have a phased program, phase 1 and phase 2. Usually phase 1 is the design and value engineering, phase 2 is the GMP and the total project cost approval. So in my phase 1 ask, I had to ask for another $4 million just for the structural steel only, so we could get that into fabrication, so we could make the ultimate schedule for opening, which is 23, by the way. I think I said 24 hours. So that's on target and more information, but I will tell you that inflation is definitely a factor. I will bring some documents to you, because by the time we have our next meeting, I'll have already workshopped or briefed the board. Durations on long lead items, windows, generators is unbelievable, doubled in many cases. So, and that's not just us, I'm hearing that from my county partners and people I know there too as well. So it's gonna affect all of our large capital projects for the next 2 to 3 years, easy. And of course, the ships outside California aren't helping the matter either, so. And Jersey port as well, and Miami as well. So, and next job is, this was a portable installation. This was at Bonita Springs Elementary. For those of you who don't know, that we had a structural roof collapse on a historic building. We did a structural survey of that building. Although it wasn't in imminent failure, we were concerned for the health and safety of students and staff, so we've closed the building, other than for minor maintenance people to go through and check on it. And we set up portables because that housed the administration, it housed the library, the clinic, and the music room and so forth. So what we've done is we've reconfigured the campus a little bit. We set some portables there for the administration and his staff, and changed the parent drop-off a little bit and bus pickup until we make a determination. The capital committee today was briefed a little bit from Kathy Eval on the planning as to some potential options we have on this site. So we'll be bringing something forward in terms of a decision on whether we fix up the old historic building, whether we change some things in terms of grade levels or some reconfiguring of the site plan. That has not been determined. It has to go through the community and in public, be vetted, because everybody has stakes in this particular school. It's a neighborhood school. So we just started some real conversations today on that, but those are the portables that were placed there. That's been completed. This is the Cape Elementary, I'm sorry, I got that in the barn, I don't know how to get rid of it. Cape Elementary School HVAC renovation, that job was completed. Part of COVID, some of the issues with COVID caused some delays in material delivery.
Excuse me, are those inverters I'm looking at?
Pardon?
And those AC condensers, are those inverters?
I do not believe.
The inverter type, I can't see the picture.
I don't believe it. Those are just regular.
Standard.
Standard DX unit. That job was done, it had a 1 month delay, so we did a no cost time for the amendment, because obviously substantial completion changed because of COVID delivery delay. That job's completed and punched out. Fort Myers High School, we also did an HVAC renovation. Now, that's been a phased project. Every summer we've gone on there and do different parts, whether it be the chillers, the piping, fan coil units inside the classrooms. So that job too, that is completed. So we've completed the Fort Myers High School job.
That was on a closed loop chill water system?
That one is, yes.
Okay, just asking.
And again, these are all for the COVID implications. I still say that we completed it on budget and on time, even though I had to give them a month extension. COVID is an unforeseen condition, so we don't hold anybody for that. Fort Myers High School plumbing renovation. This is a new job where my construction division will be taking over a maintenance job. This normally would have been handled for maintenance, but they're overloaded, and anything that's large in scale and technical and a full scale repipe would be. So my department, we're getting ready to go out and get some continuing contract, mechanical engineers on board for designs. That'll be going out in the field shortly.
Side note, OCI doesn't have any architects.
Well, they can hire them underneath them, just like you don't have any civils if you hire Dana underneath you.
But I know, but RG architects.
You cannot always be the king, Ryan.
I gotta reach for a job here,
For the
okay?
record, we love it when they're underneath us.
I know. Okay, the next one here is Fort Myers Technical College campus. That's one of our members here, their company is working on the design on that. And we are gonna be a little over on it. And we're looking for some grant funding. I believe right now we're about $1.5 million is what we're projecting. Bob, Clarkson?
For which one, I'm sorry?
Oh, that's
That's
sorry, the other guy.
I thought it was Cape Coral.
I think
what
we're-
you say.
Yeah, this is Fort Myers, I think we're about
I
$1
think they
million.
are over budget already.
We're a little bit, but there's a lot that was missing in that school. That school never had fire sprinklers. So when you go into the technical, well, we took that tour, so.
A welding lab, not a fire sprinklers.
Correct.
Thank God for that.
So-
So smoking back in that welding lab. What do you
So-
think about that?
We're doing the right thing.
Okay.
They do believe that there's some grant money and people are going to attain that grant money to try and make us whole so that we can bring that together. But we're not gonna skimp. If I gotta go, I'm handing the over to Amy's department, you know. If you get something, something else has to give somewhere, so we'll work through that. So that, those drawings are underway. And what percentage would you say you're on the drawings there, Ryan? About 60?
Yeah, 50, 60 in that range.
G Weaver hips, we just.
They lost it, he went to sleep.
Oh, come on, man. I don't even know how to fix this.
Well, I can give you an update on that one.
All right, I'm just gonna talk then, you don't get any pretty pictures. G Weaver Hips, that's gonna be a pre-K center down at G Weaver Hips, it's an addition building, approximately pre-K 20 classroom addition building. We're just starting the design on that, we got the contracts out. Actually, I think they started designing a little bit before contracts got out, so we thank you for all of your participation. Sometimes the machine here takes a while to get stuff through. VPAA and old lands, for those of you who don't recall, we moved the old Lehigh Acres Middle School into the brand new, what we call MM Middle School. And now we are preparing to recondition the old lands. We're calling it the annex right now, but the intent is, and it's gotta go through the board and some community meetings yet, so it's not cast in stone. But the intent is to have a Veterans Park Academy of the Arts Elementary and a Veterans Park Academy of the Arts Middle School. Two separate schools, two separate administrations, the same arts theme, a carrying of the colors and so on and so forth. We're gonna go through and again, that one too, we had $8 million budgeted for the renovation of the old school and 16 for a performing arts center like Black Box Theater. We're already eating into the 16 million because that building too was not sprinkled. That building was in need of some severe repairs. So we're doing the right thing. The team has come up with some great concepts and drawings. At the end of the day, I think the community was really surprised at how nice the outside looks as well as the inside. Science labs, locker rooms, color schemes, interior brick that we'll be cleaning up and painting, brighten everything up, and flooring and so forth, and of course sprinklers as we mentioned. Looking at the numbers, it's still gonna allow me enough based on a 500-seat black box theater to build that, which is scheduled for the following year. So we're looking to open those seats, refresh seats back up for August of '22. And then the following year, hopefully, we will be opening up this theater component there. And I think we'll be able to do both in budget, because we really looked at the theater. They already have art classrooms in both campuses for music and all those sorts of things. So really, it's a performing arts center. So we'll give you more information on that, but everything seems to be falling in place. And the design team that has two different design concepts, fast track on the interior renovation and a normal design on the remainder of the building. And the board just approved the increase at another school, which I'll tell you, that was last night.
Okay, so on that, how are you gonna have two separate administrations for the elementary and middle school?
Yep.
How far apart are you? You can't just have one principal run both schools.
No, you have separate, you have separate principals. The VPAA actually has two administration officers. So they haven't figured that out. There could be 2 principals and then like a dean, head principal. That hasn't been figured out, except that there will be 2 definitive
I'm saying, but
principals.
that soccer field's in the middle, I mean, this is.
Well, we have a covered walkway that is gonna carry us from one campus to the next, so they're under protection. But what they're doing is they're moving the middle school component over to the true middle school component. So it'll be mostly elementary, so you'll have separate bus loops, separate parent pickup. Cell times are gonna be the same. If a middle schooler is riding with their little younger brother or sister, they can take the bus, get off at the elementary, and walk over to the middle because they're older. We don't want it vice versa. We don't want the little kids going from the middle school over there by themselves unattended. So there is a plan, there is a concept, it has to be briefed to the board and the community in terms of the name. And so when I have that information, we'll certainly share it with you.
Do you have a completion date on that, when you estimate the time?
August 1st of 2022, the refreshed seats in old lands will be refreshed, the students will be in there. So that seat capacity will be regained by the district. And then the following year, July 1st is substantial completion of 2023 for the performing arts building.
2023.
Correct. There was physically no way because of contractual issues in our legal department and procurement. There was a bunch of things that occurred that pushed the schedule. So we had to get the seats back. So we broke up the contract with the architect, created they accommodated us and did some fast track, and that's what the board approved last night. There was additional design fees for acceleration of the design process for both the old lands renovation and the ultimate performing arts. Lee County Public Education roof, we started,
Yay.
and it's raining.
Oh, that's what those little yellow flags are for up there?
We finally, we've been waiting.
That's your man fault?
If you guys drive around this parking lot, because you've got nothing better to do, you'll see all of the insulation in the back 20. That's been there for months, and everybody's like, what's going on? Well, we have these metal roofing plates, and there's only 2 manufacturers in the country that make them for that roofing system. And part of the deal with roofing companies is, when you buy their system, in order for them to warranty it, you have to use all their components. So unfortunately, there's only the roofing system that is in our design that we picked, a good system. 2 companies make it, and with COVID, we're fighting every other place in this country for the pan. So they shipped us half of our load, I believe, Bob, 114,000 pan units, and we got another half that are coming. So we were able to start this week, and I hope our plan works, otherwise I guess I'll be getting emails here shortly. Because I hear the rain, but so this should be done, it's estimated to be a 10-month project as we work our way around the building and re-roof this project.
What should you end up with, was it FEMA or CEMA?
It's
JM.
Manville, it's actually a Manville product, which was allowed in our specification, and worked with it. So the warranty made it, the design made it, we did have some colorful meetings initially, trying to get this kicked off with a GMP. But we held our ground, we got what we wanted, and I think got a good product at the end.
Is it the aluminum clad cap sheet again?
The airport will let us do it.
Yeah, too much reflection. This building actually sits under the FAA flight path for that school. There's one small section, that's why we don't have kids here, except for one small section all the way at the other end that falls out of that quote 1,500-foot rule center line runway. So the rest of it, they met with the airport and they said, Dunbar has it. And if you've ever seen it, it's like an easy bake oven. You go up there and if you get sunburned like I do, you're a maraschino cherry in about 5 minutes. It reflects that much energy out. So they had asked us not to use it and we thought it was appropriate not to do
that. Have you seen, I mean, I know, we all know costs of going up, and I think that's a good topic for one or several meetings. I know we have a number of contractors, and they, historical data of, trusses per square foot last year, trusses per square foot this year. I mean, kind of help create that database. I was always thinking that would be a good meeting topic of, hey, certain things have tripled, but we just need to live with it and deal with it and stop being surprised by it. But with our collective knowledge and skill set of, being in the industry, let's start making a little bit of a list of what to expect. Just because, when things go up that dramatically, it's an opportunity for price gouging. Is it real? Is it, is it just this guy trying to pull one, or is the whole market doing that evenly? So being able to compare those, I think could be of value to the district. And it's not just the financial aspect. I'm hearing a lot about timing.
Absolutely.
Bar joists, like even like a tiny little like PE building or something like that, it's like 11.5 months lead time.
And has everybody heard the stories on it? Amazon, when they saw COVID hitting, if you notice, Amazon been building warehouses in every state across the country like crazy, big open distribution warehouses. Amazon locked in the fabrication time at all the major bar joist manufacturing throughout the US. So Amazon has basically bought up all the bar joists. Hence why on quadruple A, pre-K and Estero, we had to go to W flange sections in our design, switch out because the lead time to get them was gonna be too long. And that comes at a cost, it's more expensive. Now, there's some smaller jobs we've kicked around, we're gonna be talking to some of my design team members. We may try to reach out locally on the smaller jobs and see if local structural steel manufacturers and erectors locally can get the raw stock and actually fabricate the bar joists for our projects locally, so.
Do they have the engineering, certified engineering behind it to
I
actually
can't speak
manufacture?
for all, I can tell you one, like SMS has that ability to do that.
Right.
Whether they could do it on a large scale in production, and whether some of the other vendors here, that I don't know their names, whether they could do it. We're researching that, and that's where we're trying to go locally now to control our own destiny. So,
Most of your tool stuff, like from China, Stimson, stuff like that, container costs right now just doubled. So to ship a 40-foot container, what, $20,000 a year on port. So if they're sitting in the bay out in LA, they're doubling the price of what's sitting there. And what that's gonna do is just screw everything up.
yep,
And I mean, I used to piggyback trusses out of Pennsylvania, not no more. That's over.
it's crazy, those
Yeah.
ships are definitely not helping the situation.
Not at all.
Well, and when you see these changes coming, like, obviously, W section is more steel, it's heavier.
Sure.
And it's more costly. But seeing that ahead of time and working into the design, you can reduce a foot out of building height and try to make up for that. But reacting to it this late in the game, you're stuck.
I don't see where that could be done. I mean, you're looking at 20 to 30% over the board just on material and shortchange, what are you gonna shortchange?
Well, I'll give you an
7 foot
example.
ceiling?
Who would have thought PVC would be a problem? One of my bid items, $500,000.
Sure.
Well, I've been forecasting some of those materials and like you were saying, I mean, you know, this is a construction advisory committee, so let's take advantage of our time that we have in here and create some of that data that can help either, you know, reviewing, you know, proposals, design phase, whatever it may be. It seems like, I mean, really it's what are the challenges that the district is having when it comes to design and construction right now, right? So it's the same thing, it's budgeting, you know, where everybody's over budget, and it's probably the worst it's been in a long time to try to forecast something that's 2 to 3 years, or 2 years out, or even 6 months out. So, I mean, can we create that, put our brains together in here, create a database, and we can kind of, because we all have that information, a lot of us do. But things do change, keep that running tally and maybe just focus on keeping updated quarterly, or whatever it may be. Split that down.
It's so fluid right now.
Well, I was waiting for the GMP to come. Pre-K to Estero was gonna tell me the roadmap moving forward. Now, I did put some inflation factor in there. I mentioned to the board that this potentially could even grow 20% on some of the larger ticket items. They were shocked. I think Ms. Morgan, you saw the faces of the other board members. Fortunately, not fortunately, we're not alone. So it isn't our division or our group. This is now being broadcast across every entity in the United States.
I read an article that I think it was the General Contractors of America put out, that from June 2020 to June 2021, the cost of a construction project went up 26% on average across the whole United States, not just per area.
And see, I was fortunate enough, my MM Middle School, that new Lehigh Middle that became Lambs, and Gateway High School, which was I had a home run on that school. I had COVID. Most people, that COVID was my friend. I had unlimited labor. We came up with COVID protocols, nurses checking temperatures. I had more than enough labor than I ever did. Accelerator project, got great buys on material. I cleaned out all the warehouses with all the lights and the fixtures I needed. Construction industry had stopped because of COVID. For those two schools, we banged them out, and the price was good. But as you were saying, yes, right after that, from the 2020, June 2020, it just exploded. And now COVID and the shipping and the lack of work is just exacerbating it even more.
Yeah,
Well, but one of the things that the district is doing is when the project has, design time for big projects, they're putting packages for the shell, early packages, so you can start ordering materials in advance, so you can compensate for the lead times. Because sometimes it's easier to do it that way than replace or different alternative materials.
right, I don't wanna get back into the procurement side
Well,
of it.
procurement, they don't buy it.
Well,
Just-
yeah,
just-
but I'm saying just as far as that process goes, it's how do we speed up the time to get to budgeting and the pricing? You know, what I mean, it's because most things are CM, they're CMAR, thing, pricing, whatever. You know, Carter County School District just solicited out this year. This year was continuing services design build contracts to try to speed that process up, to try to get to that procurement of materials, say, to get to that point, to try to buy those. And yeah, I'm just talking aloud right now, or thinking aloud right now.
We've had experience with design build, and in my professional career outside of the district, I've had experience with design build. That is the one thing that'll cripple a district. Because if you don't have a set of strong documents, you're at their mercy. So we did Trafalgar Elementary School. We opened up a school that didn't have a public address system. And that's because the design builder built it, didn't put one in. No one from the district noticed that it wasn't in. And that was pretty much the last time we ever used it. You have to have a really strong, qualifying team of estimators, plan reviewers in-house to ensure, and you have to have your hierarchy of specifications for your school have to be lock, stock, and barrel. We're constantly changing our HVAC, we're constantly changing our IT. I mean, it's always changing. Clarissa, you sit, and Bob, you guys sit in the meetings, Ryan too. It's constantly evolving to the point where I'm taking the specs from my previous job and the red ink that we had, giving it to the next team, here's what we want, but we want this changed. And I think I hear what you're saying, I'm always open to listening and going down new roads, but I don't know that our procurement department, I think we could potentially be eaten alive.
Yeah, it definitely takes a special team for that.
Sure, I mean, change order city, it's the old adage, the big boat is change order, and the little dinghy behind it was original contract, so.
But definitely that's a
Question here on the procurement process, do you guys do direct purchase material?
Yes, we do, everything is direct material purchase.
And you're absolutely right, the design build is not for school or for county, it just has limitation, has its own unique project, that's what project you're talking about.
Yeah, you guys have an experienced team doing design build in place that knows the district, knows their needs.
Understands
And
that's
put
right.
together a really good design criteria package to be able to, incorporate all those pieces and make sure things are missed. And, without that kind of history and that experience, I can see.
You get eaten alive, and ultimately eaten alive in my world means dollars.
I know on the break and road side that we do design builds all the time. They work out for the vendors, but I guess it doesn't work for the school district.
Construction would not work out.
I like the idea of keeping each other accountable. You work as a team with the contractor and the building official, but because we are three legs of that team, we keep each other accountable. When it's a design build, all the team work for the head, whoever the head is. And usually, in my experience, big projects don't have a good result. And big projects, small projects is fine.
It's again, the design build is meant for treatment plants. Hey, listen, you have $10 million, you have so many gallons per day to deliver within 9 months, that's it, go get it done. In vertical construction, they're gonna cut corner, they're gonna cut your material, you're gonna get what you paid for. $3 million, you're gonna get $3 million building. Doesn't mean have light in it, but it's but it's absolutely right. I don't recommend it for school or Collier County or Lee County.
And in terms of, we've gone against what the board policy was, I told you that we came up with a new swim lane, our phase 1 and phase 2, so we had accurate GMP, guaranteed maximum price, no changes, no surprises, so we would avoid a bonita issue. We had to break away with that and do some of the early buys with the steel like we did at pre-K, and we're gonna have to do that on other projects.
Where you stage it? If it gets delivered, where are you gonna stage it at?
Right
I'm just
outside.
curious.
Right outside.
It's cheap, even if you store it in the warehouse.
It's not coming for another year.
It doesn't matter. I had a set of trusses for a building in Miami, sit on the ground for three weeks and got ate up by termites to the first 5 floors. Just asking.
Still got ate by termites?
No,
Nobody in the school, ate 'em right up.
Okay, but we'll, at that point, we'll have rat slabs out there, we'll be able to protect it, keep it high and dry and so forth, so I'm not too worried. Again, it's a year round, so.
Well, rather than design-build approach, perhaps there's a way, we do a lot of pre-construction services where we're up front with the architects, we work with them, alongside of them. And you kind of get ahead of the curve in regards to material pricing issues and things like that, where the design
We do that now.
can be curved, so.
We do that now.
Yeah.
Part of this phase 1 project is I go to the board with the full design fee
Mhm.
and a small fee for the CM and the building official to participate from day 1 all the way to
Yeah, I think
100%
that's a
CD
good
drawing.
idea.
So we pull out the VE, we pull out all those things at the beginning, again, so that when the GMP comes to the board, they're permanent plans, they've been bid out as permanent plans, there's no surprises, and hopefully no me going back for requests, because then I would be unemployed.
Well, given today's climate, what do you go for contingency as far as construction costs?
Here's what I always do, there's a 2% contingency in the CM's contract, that's shared by the owner. We have 50% control, as do they. They have to get our approval for every contingency adjustment within the project. In addition, I put in a 3% owner contingency. Now, that is not meant to be spent. That is meant as a buffer, if there's a special program that changes in the school, an academy, or something of that nature, that's the money I would draw to use it. If we don't use it, which we didn't use any, at Gateway, very little, that comes back to the district, it goes back into the funds, and it gets repurposed for another school. So I do put a safety net in there, but we try not to use that. So we return, typically our contingencies are returned, or a good portion of it. The owner's contingency, almost every time 100% of that has been returned. And the DMP tax savings that we do, which typically is about 1.2% of the construction cost is returned. So on a bigger project like the high school, that was like, I don't know, $900,000. And that goes back into the district coffers to be repurposed for the next build.
That was up to Triple M school, right?
Correct.
So we don't know from this point forward how that fluid cost is gonna affect anything.
Well, I'm gonna DMP everything. I'm getting tax savings on everything. I can't tell you that the widget isn't gonna cost $5 more than it did last year, but I can tell you that I'll be getting my 6.5% tax from the federal government that goes back to the district. I have an accountant, and we just got a bookkeeper to assist her, and the reason for that was we were having so much in large capital coming, that's $1 million to the district. I can't swallow an elephant and choke on that. I hire a $40,000 bookkeeper to help out to make sure that we get every DMP tax savings, and yet I'm returning $1 million potentially every year in a large capital job. I say that's pretty good bang for your buck.
Yeah.
So,
We're pretty much doing, the design build kind of term is kind of scares people. But I do think that the district right now has a pretty good system. They kind of have a hybrid of it. So they basically, they're really doing, everybody works together. They're the architects, the contractors, all the vendors, designers. And they were doing the same thing without saying design build, because you're entering into a GMP. And so so a design build contract, you can amend it into a GMP and move forward. But, so you're not really, I think your process is pretty strong that you have right now. I was kind of trying to shorten that, see if there's a way that we can shorten that timeline for getting the contractor on board, like the pre-construction services, because it seems like there is a gap between solicitations for design services, then the CM always follows a little bit.
unfortunately, you are 100% correct. The duration is 6 months of procurement. By the time they advertise it, contract get reviewed. I've become, for lack of better, the legal reviewer of contracts. I shouldn't have to be. We hired attorneys, didn't work out so well, they're gone. Now I work with, so we had procurement director that was starting to work with our division, he went on to greener pastures. So now we're redeveloping those departments and putting people in place. But I've been the chief cook and bottle washer, but I got a great little 8-person team. And we work really hard and we've kept the ship afloat. So thank you for that, for recognizing that, I do appreciate that.
Absolutely, and really, I think that, what do you need help with? What can we help you with?
Other than mental health?
Can you navigate others?
Larger.
Right now, there's so much work to be done in the district, and everybody just and I say this a lot, everybody just thinks that this tax revenue, we're just rolling in, we're planting money trees on every site, there's an abundance of money. When the tax revenue first came out, the referendum, and they projected $800 million, I added up all the large capital projects, this is going back 4 or 5 years ago, that were scheduled in the 5-year plan. My department alone, if we paid cash right off the get-go for all that, would have been $675 million. That didn't take in security, didn't take in anything else. So when you look at that, we have been in a funk since 2008 until now. We gain a school every year, on average, 1,200 kids per year. No money. They took our PICO funds went to the charter schools. They cut our
Millage.
we cut the millage, but they also cut 50% the impact fee.
Okay.
And the beauty is the county and well, not just the county, but all the entities we deal with, make us do all our off-site work. Bring utilities there, create your roadways and turn lanes, so it's tight. And right now, we're in a position, especially with the inflation, we're gonna have to make some hard decisions. And the finance people already told us, if you want something here, then something else has to give. And unfortunately, with this inflation going the way it is, there's gonna have to be some tough, hard discussions.
There's still the aspect of it will change. Something's gonna happen. We have all this inflation, shortage of labor, so many people wanna build stuff, but you know, in 2006 or 2005, when's it gonna stop? Never. It's never gonna stop. It's gonna go back. It's gonna change back. I don't know why. I just know that it is.
It will, but here's the problem. Our community is largely a blue-collar, construction-based community. Lehigh.
That's changing very, very fast. In Cape Coral, I have dozens and dozens of friends that own companies that are in Ohio, Indiana, California. They work at home, they make $100,000 a year, and they go out for dinner.
There's still a
No, but I hear what you're saying.
economy.
I'm talking about skilled, with your hands labor.
Right, industrial.
This market here is service industry oriented, all right? And what happens is if those people don't have work, they're not spending. They're not going to the restaurants. They're not going on the vacations. We noticed that here. And there was a big hurt and a big exodus. Cape Coral, all the young people in Cape Coral bailed and went elsewhere to find construction labor when the market dumped in 2008. All the homes were bought up by overseas entities, but anyway, that's all, I digress. My bigger concern is if we can't get materials flowing and get them working, or we have the workforce that's out of work, and that hurts our community. Forget about schools and school seats, that hurts the tech, it hurts the community, it hurts local businesses.
Anywho, can I say something? On your prelims, you guys did a design build, a school. Are you calling in any type of federal assistance on your design?
No.
Why is that?
We don't do Davis-Bacon, we have done some Davis-Bacon.
I didn't say anything about that. I'm just asking, like, the EPA, for energy efficiency.
We do have that, our architects go back for the energy efficiency credit rating.
On a federal level.
I think it's Florida. We haven't gone after that, because to go after that means we've got a document, and we've got to have personnel and hire staff to maintain those documents in that record. That's it. How many people might do it?
No, I got it.
I hear what you're saying. I would love to have an estimator in my department. I'd love to have a CAD guy in my department. And if we were supposed to get electronic picture track or Procore, and it got denied in the budget. So I rely on my professional entities here to perform that and buy that in the packages there. So there's a lot. How big do you want to get? Could I always use more help? Of course I could. But we're able to manage it. I think we're managing it well for the district and for the school board and the taxpayers without going too far the other way.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the escalation of the material is really took a different approach. And even in the Collier County, a project that was budgeted in March for like $33 million. The budget right now is about $39 million. There's no question about it. My question is, can you slow your construction enough to catch up? Do we have to do everything today, or we can plan it for next year or the year after?
Two schools of thought for that.
That is a must. Thank you.
We need seats, especially in the East Zone. We watch the media, one board member that's in control of that zone, she's got 66% of the portables in her zone. So we fell behind because we didn't have the revenue and the funding of the West Zone, so it was all portable. Those portables originally were in the West Zone. The world was exploding and we didn't have student seats. They all came repurposed out in the next zone when all the K-12 people couldn't afford rent there and went out to the East Zone. So we could slow it down, but here's the problem. That year-to-year inflation, that 7 to 8%, has been very consistent since 2014. About 5 to 8%, let's say, in that area, certain trade. That's never going away. That's gonna keep happening year after year after year. And that's separate from the COVID impact and the lack of materials and inflation and everybody fighting for that limited supply. I'm hoping, could we back things off? The problem is then we blow class size and then the state can potentially fine us. Or I've gotta try and get portables. Well, portables aren't there. People don't realize to buy a new portable, $100,000 to buy it. That's not even setting it up. So we lease, basically it's refurbished trailers, they come out and they get about a little under $1,000 a month rental fee. You spend about $40,000 per unit setting them up with data, IT, water, the whole enchilada. It's more cost effective, but you gotta maintain them. And once you put them there, you don't wanna own portables, we did that, because you're stuck with them for 20 years, they become part of your seat. So all of our portables run out in 23, and we're so thankful because then the state will allow and give us the approval to build hard concrete seats and build them. Up till now, they look at all those portables as capacity. So come 2023, we're freed. We're excited about that.
And the question is, I mean, if you go, you're gambling too, is, I'm just throwing some numbers out here, so say it costs $275 or so square foot to build a facility this year, you know, you're gonna bank on, I wouldn't bank on it costing any less next year.
Now, we've had, I can tell you in the last year and a half, on the high end, we projected $320 a square foot. That's with FF&E and everything. Right now, I've got design teams coming into me saying they're seeing $375. That's in the last 6 months.
Right.
Per square foot. That's a huge increase. So-
We get it 375. Right now, we experience about 400 plus.
Yep. So I hope it slows down, I hope it stops, go ahead.
So just given what I've heard people say here today, it seems like there are a couple of things that we can do. But Dr. English is really into, we need to find alternative sources. Now, for the most part, this group really, that's not your thing, but clearly it's.
We'll talk more.
Yeah. But also I heard conversation about when you have to substitute materials, it changes some of the other things in the building. So I guess my question would be, you all see where design is going in every respect and energy efficiencies. Are there things that we should be doing with our buildings long-term? We're building the traditional classroom building. Are there things you're reading or seeing out there that are being done differently that we ought to be looking at in this district?
I think we should schedule a day to work on solar. The national movement is really big solar fields. Pennsylvania is probably the biggest now. I think the federal government's gonna have a big infrastructure bill that's gonna be trying to get us to bring grant money here.
Sure, update everything.
And then you get a new roof, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the cost of the roof is part of that.
Reflective roofing materials, solar heating, thermal heating, whatever's available. I mean, the money's gonna come in here soon.
We actually did solar years ago.
Yeah.
About 15 years ago at Mariner High School.
Yeah.
And the problem was we couldn't maintain it.
Yeah.
And part of, we don't do solar fields because we can't find acreage but large enough now to even build our footprint of our school,
Well,
let alone make a
Parking lots?
Right,
potentially, you could do parking lots.
that's right. Solar's changed a lot. It's, if you have to build in money to maintain it, then
So
what
be
you
it.
do.
Maintenance needs to change. Maintenance needs upgrade.
So
We
I
can
like,
certainly look at it and by all means, bring the information and I'll bring maintenance because they've done some surveys of it and the cost benefit analysis just isn't there.
Well, the point is that they get, the point is to get as much money off that fence we can. So it's not here. So our money stays in Lee County. The taxation and all the rest of it goes towards what we need to get done immediately. and all the ancillary stuff, that should be coming from the feds. I mean, the new administration's attitude is energy, global warming, so take advantage of it, the money's there.
We can certainly look into it.
Sure.
But remember, everything comes with a cost. The same amount of maintenance labor, 150 maintenance labor, are what we had back in 2008 when we only had 80 facilities. Now we're at 130 facilities and the same 150 people. So basically, everything that now gets maintained, they're outsourcing a lot of that maintenance to outside local vendors. So that comes at a cost, so you gotta weigh, I understand what you're saying, you can get the money to do this. You can get that cash, you can put it in, but at the end of the day, if there isn't a super return on the benefit of putting that in, and it just becomes a maintenance nightmare for you,
The old adage used to be, I give you the money for a new heating system, right? You put it in, who takes care of it? That's what you just said.
That's great.
The new thinking is not only am I gonna help you put it in, I'm gonna give you maintenance money to maintain it for a period of time. The focus is energy. And whatever it takes to maintain energy, and if you're saying, well, we can't maintain it with that kind of cash flow, believe me, there's a trough full of money.
So in your thinking,
No, it's not my thinking.
no, but it's in your thinking. Let's say we do our roofs, high school, Gateway High School, we do the whole roof and solar, and collect all that in. We get a hurricane that goes through. Takes it out, but it doesn't take out just the solar, it takes out the roof with it. Now I've got a facility I can't use, I gotta go through insurance companies, I gotta try and repair and replace. So, you could go down a whole different path, but I suggest this. Let's have an open mind as you suggest, let's bring the experts in, let's vet it.
Sure, take a
And
look at it.
and bring the maintenance people in, and I'm gonna go whichever way the committee and the school board wants to go.
A day by itself.
We do that though, because there's technology also that's self-contained level that would not require solar as much, because it produces its own energy using magnet drives, and it's.
No, we do mag chillers? Yeah, we do them already, all our schools have it. We built
But it's
a,
a power production for the entire school, not just for the AC.
okay, I'd like to learn more about that.
And the idea of it is offsetting an array off the roof. That's old hat, that's old school. Because of the same problem, we live in a zone 5 for tropical storms. So we'd be kinda nuts to put some on the roof right now. I mean, that's what my neighbors do it, I'm like, well, okay, what are you saving?
Okay, so you're from down here. What's the first thing you don't put in your roof?
Nothing.
A hole in it. Exactly. You want skylights, you want rain.
Yeah, good luck.
You know those people that mount those nice solar collectors for their pools in the backyard? Well, the first good wind that starts taking all your ceramic tile or your metal roof off your roof. So, I hear what you're saying. I'm not the expert in solar, but I would certainly think it's worth bringing someone in to give you guys a presentation, and if it's,
We'll need the energy bills too. You know, I can't even imagine what's the energy bill for the County school system. Yeah, you should be eating away at that. That's never gonna end unless something else comes along.
and feel free, if you committee members have experts in this industry that wanna come and give a presentation, and by all means, invite those people in. 'Cause we could all benefit from that knowledge, and I can bring maintenance in and
Is
procurement.
everybody all gonna be okay with this? I mean, if they're giving a good deal to the county for using power, are they gonna still be okay with giving a good deal to the county if we use less and less of the kilowatt hours?
I'm sure you got a negotiated rate, right?
Well, we've had deals with FP&L, they provide relighting of our facilities at literally no cost to grant funding to them in years past. So I'm sure that they're willing to work with us and talk about it if it's feasible for them.
They did it out at FGCU.
Yeah.
You know, the smaller scale though, we're talking almost elimination of FPL entirely to the building.
I think every project's different, and I think that over the years, I think that sustainability, and practicing sustainable means and methods of construction, I think what's happened even with solar, I mean, there's so many other things you can do with the facility that doesn't really involve solar, like there's technology, geothermal, there's all kinds of stuff, orientation with the architects and designers that can incorporate that, because energy, yeah, I think it's an important topic, but I think that if you kind of list those items out, I think you can focus a lot of other things besides solar that you'll see that's happening, that you're pushing your money to make it make more sense over the years.
So I also know we're like very, kind of heavy dependent and reliant on the prototype design, and the prototype was, all of the prototypes were designed 20 years ago. at what was the most efficient construction method then. Does that still make sense now? Is it still the right answer 20 years later? A lot of things have changed in that time frame. Say, teaching methodologies have changed significantly. Construction material costs have changed significantly. Is it worth opening up that discussion? Is that still the right way to build?
Given the amount of building we're gonna be doing over the next 10, I would assume we're gonna keep going after this particular 10-year period of life, so we're gonna continue to grow. We should be anticipating the design requirements 20, 30 years out and trying to work towards that.
Cause I mean, we've all been, I'm assuming some of these people, I mean, 10, 15 years ago, I was lead certified a long time ago with sustainable design, and that was, you couldn't build a campus on without it being achieving some type of sustainability level.
Correct.
Well, that's gone because that was just too expensive, right?
Well,
But
we still design to lead.
yeah,
We
and I
still
think-
do.
and
We
I
don't
think-
pay for the certification because it's 3% of the cost of the work and it's just not worth it, but we try to design to lead.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think we should, exemplify that and let people know that we are doing that too.
Well, and that's one of the other aspects, 15 years ago and the version 3, yeah, absolutely. But just like the building code, they're raising the bar every year. So like you have to beat the building code energy modeling by 10, 12%. Well, now it's 12, 15%, plus the energy code has also gone up. So like where you used to think you get 18 points, now you're kind of 10 or 12. And they keep raising the bar for what you have to do, which has been on somewhat of a stagnated prototype, you know what I mean? So, it's great to say we're building to lead designs, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that just doesn't make sense to do that we don't do.
And that's fine.
And,
But it's true that the prototypes though, we really keep as today, 2021. We keep the floor plans, but the whole set of the specs and windows and materials, everything has changed to make it 2021.
Right.
So, yeah, it's time to update probably the floor plans too, but we are updating to energy and to codes and everything else. So-
Understand the floor plans and the prototypes started when Dr. Browder was here with McNerney, and it involved school-based staff. So I'm always open for change, but the basic principle has been an I, a T, or an L. And the reason for that was during bell changes, they wanted to have one administrator in a central point of the hallway, to be able to monitor student transitions during bell time. So that's why you see the L or the Ts. How you design a school, whether we use our standard prototype or not, that's been a school-based requirement for the management of the population. That's why we do that. Tilt panel, got a lot of sand here, a lot of sand, and quite frankly, 8, 12-inch thick concrete panels, they'll be there for 100 years. Anything that's a brick backup with a come on, man, we all know that those cavity walls never properly, the guys don't use the twigs to bring the mortar up, they lock it up, and now I get moisture going back into the building and it fails over years. Now that instead of the old copper welded flashings they put in there, the lead flashings, now it's all neoprene rubber with the glue and some guy up there with the construction dust and the saw and the glue is sticking, but you bury the wall up and then you wonder why it's leaking inside. So tilt up will hold up against hurricanes. Fresh coat of paint every 6, 7 years makes it look like brand new, and it's not gonna deteriorate. So it may not be the most aesthetically pleasing, not like Princeton, New Jersey, with everything brick and gargoyles and all that, but from a functional perspective and long life, and then you go back, you gut it out, and you put in the modern technology and the modern windows and everything else, but the shell itself remains.
The brick and mortar don't fail.
Pardon?
Brick and mortar really doesn't fail.
Well,
But I think
I can-
you struck a chord, when you were talking about, finding local people to work, in terms of the choices. That does two things. You create, an avenue to get what you need done, and you increase the economy in this area. And so when you do that, you'll have the Lee County area where you have local people doing things like doing the welding. That company, 1, 2, or 10, they build up a base where you'll see the local economy start to grow exponentially. And it ultimately helps all. When you're waiting, to get a product from wherever it's coming from, that actually increases the economy somewhere else. But if we begin to start being more creative in terms of how we are building and how we're reaching that end and using the local market to do so, everybody wins.
That's a true comment. The problem with that is this, we live at the end of a big road. If it doesn't come by rail, truck, or plane, maybe it ain't coming.
Okay, but raw material is fine.
It's true, but I'm saying, to bring that raw material down here, if it's not utilized, sold, or put into use, nobody buys it, they're stuck. Nobody's gonna take raw material, ship it all the way down here to Southwest 4 Miami, for that reason, I'm from Miami, same difference. It all came by plane, regular boat. If it came in there and it did get sold, they ain't gonna ship it back. Nobody wants to bear that cost. So the idea of this, it starts, like you say, an industrial economy. It's very hard. People look at this hard and say to themselves, see, I'm going in the shoe business. I ship down 10,000 pairs of shoes, only sell 9 of them. What do I do with the rest of them? Take them to the OT flea market. You see my point? It's kind of hard because there's no rebound for that material. I wish there was, but it just doesn't exist. If we don't have a port here, we ship it to the island.
But we're building a school a year here, basically, right?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
There's a lot of opportunity for local people.
No, I understand what you're saying. I just want to make it a point. It's kind of hard because I tried to bring materials down here myself. And it has its moments. Because I'm stuck. I either buy a whole truckload of it, or a half a truckload, like when me and you get together and split a truckload, because once it comes down here, ain't nobody gonna take it back. It's rough.
We're kind of running past our time a little bit, so, real quickly, we still have, public comment and not having any specific members of the public here today. We can slide by that, but I do want to give us the opportunity for good of the order. And if there's any other meeting topics people would like to bring up, that this would be a great time to do so, get it on the calendar. And we'll start to vet it out and get some of the topics, at our next meeting. So, going around the room real quickly with good of the order. Zero.
Oh, good.
I had a question for Scott. Did you finish your presentation?
No, we ran out of time, and, if you wanna see it, go to leecountyschools.net, departments, construction, and you can go in their current, or capital update to the board, there's a whole tab, bring it up, brings every month's capital update, you can see all the pictures. In addition, go to construction site, you can see all our active projects, it breaks them out into different divisions.
Or do you want me to email it to the members as well? Okay, I can do that.
There we go, we'll email, it's about 26 pages, and there's some maintenance projects in there as well.
Energy.
Energy consumption?
Yeah.
Just general, I mean, we'll kind of keep solar on one topic and then one for, alternative funding methods,
Over at Lynn
production
University, we
systems, just
insulated.
kind of an overall topic.
At Lynn University, we insulated our tilt up. In the shed. You don't even remember an air conditioner. You don't have to. You just walk in the building, it's cool all year long, 110 degrees outside.
Not here for mine. You want your piece of that.
I just wanna correct that statement, we do insulate our water when it's needed, that's, we do that here.
I think we have enough between the energy and solar to have two different meetings.
Yes, completely.
And prototype.
Prototype.
Certainly.
And construction costs.
That covers the whole year.
I'll email her the article that I read, because it was really interesting.
I would email it to Julia,
Yeah.
and then Julia can get it.
Yep.
All right, and feel free, if you got energy people, like I said, if you know somebody's an expert in the field, I don't know any, so bring them on in, I'll make a call.
All right.
Just let me know when you're gonna do that, so I can have the maintenance division and the procurement division have a representative here too, so that they get the same presentation.
Second, Mr. Reed.
All right, Ms. Morgan?
No.
Anything to add? English?
I'd like to see us get more involved with purchase of property.
Property that's the right size?
I'll be glad.
You can always buy.
Tell us how you really feel, Good. All right, with that, I think we're about to turn to pumpkins here. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
I move so. I'll second.
I move to adjourn.
All right, we'll go with Bob and Dana on this one, for Julia. Sorry, John.